Patchwork Heart Ministry and Fiat Ministry Network invite you to discover your mission, a brand new in-depth monthly video series featuring engaging Catholic speakers who will challenge you to live your life abundantly. For only $25 a month, you will receive a personal monthly mission, including 3 full-length inspirational talks that build upon a new theme each month. Sign up for the Discover Your Mission tier at patreon.com/patchworkheartministry today.
Welcome to the Fiat Ministry Show, episode 155. Thank you, Jennifer, for sharing the stream. I appreciate that. Really excited about our guest tonight. We were going back and forth. Like a lot of things, the social media platforms help, and you also have to be careful, but this time it was actually a good positive connection with Shawna Arnold, and she wrote the book, and I'll bring it, I have it right here, and I'll put this up here, From Darkness to Light, Finding My Way to the Father's Merciful Love. And I'll also put it up, I have it right here, and we can show that, and definitely she also has a website. We'll talk about that, and I'll hopefully, just a really exciting to know, in any kind of situation, any cross that you have, you can always find a light and help you get through, and she's a perfect example of how, forgiveness, how to, go through a lot of dark times to find the light. And I'm really excited to just talk to her tonight. Please, comment or give us any questions that we could, ask her. That would be great. I'm going to start in prayer. And also, again, before I do the prayer, I just want to let everybody know, we want to, I know we say it all the time, but please support us with the Patreon. It helps us continue to do our work. Please, there's different tiers that will help us through our Patreon, different things like, for example, we have the Catechism, all 38 segments of the Catechism, and John Curry Sr. lays out the whole, if you want to listen in the car or just learn more about the Catechism. It's a great opportunity and tool to use, and there's so many others coming up. I know I really want to thank Bill Snyder and Patchwork Heart Ministry for also streaming the YouTube, and also on Podbean with the radio side of things. So welcome everybody tuning in over there, and let's start in prayer, and then we'll have Shawna on, and let's start the show. In the name of Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. Lord, thank you for tonight. Thank you for Shawna. Thank you for allowing her to share her story, her just from the darkness into light, just to know that everybody has their story and their cross that they bear, and to understand that there's always light at the end, that we can always search out for you. Just give us the time and the words that you want us to share tonight. Thank you for Shawna's time. Thank you for her family. Bless everyone that's watching, and will be watching in their own time. I appreciate everyone's support and just allowing us to share the love and the graces that you give us every day to do this, to in a little way evangelize, to share, to praise you, and give you glory every day. In your name we pray. In the name of Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. And further ado, I will bring on Shawna. How are you doing tonight, Shawna?
I'm doing good. Thank you for allowing me to be on the show. I'm greatly appreciative of that.
Well, thank you for coming on, and I really appreciate it. I know we were going back and forth on social media, and I appreciate of allowing to finally coming on, and thank you for the book. And it's a great read. It's very. I mean, I just want to let people know that it's a very just an amazing story, and I know there's a lot of difficult times and things, but overall it comes out with that light, and I think that's the most important thing. And I know we're gonna maybe speak on a little bit on addiction and also the abortion side of things and all that later on in the show. But I ask all my guests before that, my first question is, yes, and that might be part of the book, but if there's something that helped you say yes to Jesus Christ, what helped you to get on that the path to where you're at right now in your journey with faith and our Lord?
I guess it was coming back to my sacraments and having a quite a remarkable encounter with God through adoration that really touched my heart and made me aware that he is real and that he's there and that he loved me. That was the biggest thing, is knowing that God still loved me, no matter what I've all done, from all my past sins, that he was always there. And I just need to ask for his forgiveness. He's my loving Father.
Yeah. Well, and I think, what, I know there's a lot in the book, and if you want to share a little bit about, the background of what happened in your life, and I know there's so much that could be talked about, but if you could give a little bit to everybody, the audience tonight, watching and listening tonight, about the book, and just from darkness to light, just share like a little bit about that situation that you went through in your life.
So basically, to sum it up in a matter of a few minutes, is I grew up in a very dysfunctional home. My father was a workaholic, and my mother was addicted to prescription pills. I basically was neglected a lot, dumped off at my grandparents' house quite a bit. I got into addiction at a very early age, led me on a road of using drugs. At the time then, my grandma died, so that was hard for me. It was like losing my mother, because my grandma was always there for me. I continued to get in trouble with the law and things like that to pay for my addictions. I was placed in jail. My parents ended up divorcing. My mom ended up remarrying another man, and just a lot of dysfunction. And this man was abusing my mom, and here I'm in jail. I can't do anything about it. I ended up becoming pregnant, and I ended up having an abortion when I was 19. And yeah, and just a long, dark road, a long tunnel I walked down of all the things I encountered throughout my life, and basically how it led to me coming back to God in the end is basically what I share in my book. But pretty much went through a lot of things. In fact, my mother died of an overdose when I was 3 months pregnant. So that was really hard as well for me to deal with. But all these things just added all this shame and all this guilt and all this lowered self-esteem onto me, all these things that kept piling on me. My self-worth was diminished to nothing. I didn't love myself. I didn't respect myself. I didn't even think I was valuable or had any worth. That's basically where I came from.
Well,
So for where I was then to where I am now, that could only be done by God.
yeah, yeah. And that's a beautiful thing that happened, that, from God's, working with anybody. It's amazing to hear, that it doesn't, it can be anybody. And you just give a little bit. I mean, you gotta, give to receive sometimes. And I think that's what kind of happened with you. And, can you just share, I mean, with the book and speaking up in Canada, you are from up in Canada, you're a couple hours behind or before, behind us. You're kind of in the, it would probably be the mountain time for the United States. You're 2 hours behind, behind us.
Yeah, 2 hours behind.
Yeah, and so up in Canada, you are speaking and going around. What are some people talking about or asking or commenting after you do speak? Are there any kind of testimonials that you're getting back from them about the book that they might have already read or hear? As you were speaking, were there anything that really touched you that it's like, this is why I'm sharing all of this? It's a heartache to probably relive and but to touch someone's soul. Is there a couple testimonies that you could share?
Yeah, basically, my main thing is I do speaking to any groups or any age, but mainly to youth. And I go into schools and I share my testimony, and a lot of them aren't even Catholic. They're not practicing. They have no faith. And when I get back the cards at the end, they say, I now believe God's real. I can relate to you on this issue. I go through the same things in my home as you have. Just sort of a lot of kind of same comments like that. And another thing was, for one, I know of one situation where a girl was pregnant and she spoke to the teacher after, and she ended up keeping her baby after hearing our testimony. So it's really quite amazing what God can do, how he can turn, this dark message into something great, something that can give life. So I'm very grateful for it. And another thing is, I find a lot of the kids are going through exactly what I went through. This isn't uncommon. Like, a lot of kids don't have a father, a lot of kids have addiction in their homes. A lot of kids are going through a substance abuse and drug addictions and things. This isn't uncommon. This is actually more normal now, sadly. Than years ago. I remember people thinking, wow, man, you have a really hard life. Like, you come from a bad home. I was kind of like, I wouldn't say a minority, but it wasn't as much as now. It's like, it's everywhere you look, and it's really sad. And that's kind of where my heart sits. I really feel for people who are suffering. I really feel for kids and youth that come from homes like I did, that have to go back home into those houses. It really, really hurts my heart badly. I pray every day for conversions and for people to get off addictions and things, but it's not like I can do anything. Like, you can't go in the house and take them, these kids that are neglected, away on the parents. There's nothing really, my hands are tied.
Yeah.
All I can do is inspire them with sharing my testimony, and I hope it helps them. I also talk to them about speaking or going to get help. I mentioned to them speaking to priests or to a counselor in your area. I tell them never to hold anything in. See, and that's what I did. I held everything inside me, and I let it fester at me, and eat at me. That was the worst thing I could have did. I should have talked to somebody. I should have let it out. You should never hold anything in like that. You need to talk to somebody. So that's a main message I like to get across as well to people. And I also like to get across to them that, you can never tell what someone's going through just by looking at them. I look pretty clean cut at that age. You wouldn't have assumed I was, getting involved in all this stuff. I kept it together. We all wear masks, and I always say, you don't know what that person's going home to. You might be the only kind word that person hears all day before they go home. You might be the only kind word, I try to really instill in them compassion. So that's sort of the kind of things I do when I speak to the class, to the kids in the classrooms and things like that. So yeah,
that's really powerful. Yeah. And that's the thing that, just touched, just hearing that. And, we are wearing masks unless we talk or, get some, we're so, we kind of have a mask on our, media or tech, all this to interact and talk and, share something with someone is so important. And I think it's all over. I mean, the drugs and everything it's still there. I mean, even though personally, I've never been, affiliated or seen, but it's out there. And that's the problem that we need to touch base on. I know you want to cover, share a little bit more on addiction and all that, but, how do you, when you're listening to these kids and knowing that and all you can do is pray, is there something that people can do? Is there a place to, call, or, do you recommend anything that people could, do for, if you do, like, maybe are, and that's a tough thing now, because even my wife's a teacher, and how you can interact with the children, sometimes you got to be careful in the sense of how do you do it in a professional way, and not step over your boundaries of being a professional as in the public. Is there something that you would recommend, or of, that people can go to or call or anything?
There's lots of helplines, more than there was back in the early 90s when I was going through the things I went through. So there's a lot more help and options out there. But things in reality, though, every school has a counselor, a guidance counselor in the school.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you're in the school speaking and you're mentioning to the kids to speak to that guidance counselor, the guidance counselor will then direct them to what other needs they need, right? Mm-hmm. And also I mentioned, because I'm in a Catholic school speaking, I mentioned to them they can speak to their priests, as well, to get some faith instilled in them and to be able to open up, maybe actually attend some of their sacraments, that sort of thing. So I think just mentioning that there's a counselor in every school for them, that's a good doorway.
Yeah.
So, and I also mentioned to them too, because I know sometimes as well, like, to be honest, at that age, you just don't want anyone to know sometimes what's going on. Like I did, I held everything in. So what I might say is, if you're afraid to speak to the counselor at your school, you can go to someone else, go to a different counselor, where nobody knows you, you can always find somebody. The thing is taking that step to go do it.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. You can only hope they do it. So that's kind of the outline of what I do as well. So yeah, that's
it's the doing, and hopefully they feel that it's okay, because it's sometimes scary. You don't know what's going to happen. You got to think of what the kid, the child is thinking, or the young adult per se is going to think. That's what could happen to them or to their family members and everything around them. I think, with the addiction side of things, because we were talking prior to the show, you're getting a lot, and we'll go cover a little bit on the abortion side next, but that was something that you really wanted to maybe share a little bit more in detail on the addiction side of things. What are you hearing, and what do you want to share on that? Because I think that's important, because it's out there. I mean, we have to understand that, and maybe if you could shed some light, that would be great for our listeners and viewers.
Well, sometimes after I'm done a presentation, I usually have more or less males coming up to me after and sharing with me that they want to get off the drugs. They have an issue. They really open up to me after I'm done sharing my testimony, which I'm very grateful for. But once again, I will tell them the same thing I said earlier, was to go speak out, to go find somebody you can talk to, and trust. And then I also mentioned to kids as well that, it's not to say it's wrong, the people you're hanging around, but the people you are hanging around with influence you, right? And It doesn't mean you're better than them if you decide to split ways with them. It just means that we're all on a different path. We're all on a different journey. Some of us take longer than others to seek help. But if you want to cut free from this kind of lifestyle, you need to find different friends, different groups, get involved in more positive things. So that's another thing I like to point out with them. And I always want them to know that, like I said, I stress out, just because you left that group or that friend doesn't mean you're better than them. We can't be thinking that way, because that person deserves help and will seek help eventually when they're ready, and hopefully they will, So that's another thing I like to stress out to them as well when I'm speaking to them.
Yeah. Well, and that's a great, as sometimes that we kind of are shy, or I was on the shy side but to have also those friends that because you're always, as a father right now, who's my children hanging out with? Are they as a parent, you thinking a little bit different, because you kind of know you've grown up, you've gone through it, but they're like deciding who's going to be. I mean, it's a lot of that peer pressure that people, children have, that happens throughout any kind of stage of childhood, of being pressured into something that they know probably is wrong, and they probably would hear the same thing from their parents, but the friend is pressuring someone to do something, and it's that sometimes saying no is so difficult, but good no's are so powerful, and I think sometimes children just need to know that saying no. I mean, even for us, sometimes I'm being pulled in so many different directions, doing different things. Sometimes you got to say no to something. You have to just say, yeah, but I just can't do it right now. And you might, but I think for that children of, in addiction or anything going on in their lives, it's tough. And I think that's, you have to pray for that. And, as working, with the Catholic side of, do you see anything different? Are you, when you're speaking with any, is there something different that with a group of children that might not be Catholic that you see they're asking questions or responding to your talks? Is there something that you would like to, share on that? Because I'm just curious, like, is it the same down the line, or?
To be honest with you, it all depends on, it doesn't matter where you go to school.
Yeah.
It's what's happening in your home,
Yeah.
what's going on in that home. I went to a Catholic school, and look what was happening in my home,
Yeah.
So yeah, it all comes down to your home and what's going on there and the foundation there. If there's no proper foundation, everything's going to be rocky, you know?
Yep.
So yeah, that's basically it. It doesn't matter where you attend. It's
Yeah.
all the same. Yeah, definitely.
Well, that's a great point, because the foundation of, you know, of the family is so important nowadays, that you stress that. And back in the day, how many families have dinner now? I mean, it's so many things going on. You got, different activities, and the foundation is so important to have as a supporting family. I think that's a great, Shawna, just to share that, because sometimes we get caught up with everything else going on, and the family kind of is lost. And for these different children that are in these difficult family structure, like you're saying earlier in the show, and I think this is the most important thing, one of the more important things to think about is everybody, in a sense, has a mass that we need to, talk to, and know the person, and try to, if there's something going on, don't be afraid to ask. They might, step away and not want to talk and feel uncomfortable talking, but you have to at least open up and see if there's something going on. I think that's, that we have to let that mask down sometimes, and hopefully that they feel comfortable with you to do that, is, as a parent, as maybe a friend of the families or whatnot, to open up. Grandparents, like you were, having grandparents that can help, all of that, just any family, friends that are part of the family. I think that's, we have to open, let that mask down, and hopefully, the children will do the same.
Another thing that came to my mind as you were talking too is some of the comments I get were, I thought my home life was bad, but I realized it's not. I'm going to go home and thank my parents today. Thank you for sharing this testimony. Really made them open up their eyes to how good they actually had it at home. Because sometimes too, you don't really realize how good you have it when you have things good, right? You got to look at that aspect as well. So
Great point.
yeah, there's a lot these kids can take out of my testimony, which I'm very grateful for as well. So that's another point I wanted to talk to you about as well, because a lot of these people, they don't realize what it feels like to actually be on the hard end of things sometimes. And I think that really wakes them up to reality. So yeah.
No, that's a great point too. And I, if you don't mind to cover another, just with the abortion side of things, as Fiat, very pro-life, encouraging all to say yes to Jesus Christ, Our Lady's ultimate Fiat, or yes to God, to have Jesus. What can you tell women going through something like that, to have that situation, to know that, out of all of that, who you are now? And because we all are, have different, crosses that we're carrying. Is there something that you would like to share, or let women that might be thinking of that, to what to do or what to think about when possibly thinking of doing an abortion?
Well, basically, I always like to say as well is, you're never going to say, I regret my child. I regret my adoption. That's something you're not going to see, right? Whereas with a choice like mine, you'll regret that choice, and I have to say too, denial. I had denial for over 10 years. I thought everything was fine. You couldn't tell me that abortion affected me. But I like to also tell them about the side effects of what can happen from an abortion, the scarring in your uterus. There's a chance you might not be able to carry a child after having an abortion because of scarring. You know, I have 2 children. I'm grateful, but I almost lost my second pregnancy because of that reason. So, you know, I'd like to also say to women who are contemplating, you know, an abortion, I want you to know, like, just go speak at a pregnancy center, or, you know, go open up to somebody there, take some of the counseling there, you know, learn about different things in motherhood, and, you know, learn and have people talk to you about all that as well. And, you know, also you can look at the side of adoption, which is a loving sacrifice. You know, you're giving your child over to somebody, you know. And I have to admit, when I went through my abortion, the reason I chose abortion was very selfish, very selfish. I actually chose abortion because of my addictions. That's how much of a grip that addiction had on me.
Wow.
That I chose that route. So, you know, I like to just educate people about the symptoms as well, and just to let them know, you know, the choice is always yours. You got a free will. But I mean, educate yourself. Like, my doctor didn't tell me at 3 weeks the baby had a heartbeat. He told me it was a pen dot, just a little dot on a piece of paper. So, I mean, educate yourself, please, you know? Yeah. I like to really stress that, because no one ever told me any of this stuff. I wasn't told anything. Yeah. So, yeah, it's just a choice you want to really think about, you know?
No,
you'll regret it, you know? It's just not a good thing. And it's very sad, you know, to selfishly take someone else's life. Like, I can't go back. I can't redo what I did. And I also want to say to anybody right now who's watching that's had an abortion, that you can get healing. And there's a place called Rachel's Vineyard, and that's where I went to get healing. A lot of these pregnancy centers also have counseling in them as well. There's a lot of different ministries now that are geared towards counseling for post-abortion. And it's not just a woman's issue. This is obviously a man's issue. I like to say to the men, because sometimes the guys in the class might say, what does it have to do with men? Well, last time I checked, it takes 2 people to have a baby. You know, so yeah, I'd like to say that as well. So yeah, it's definitely a man and a woman issue, and there is healing for both. So yeah.
That's a great point, and I think I kind of share this a lot. My wife mentioned that we were driving. You know, it's kind of a, for the father, it's kind of a getting out of it. Like, you know, if it's a boyfriend, or, you know, getting out of a thing easy. I mean, it's an easy way out kind of thing is what I'm trying to say, is that which is so wrong to say, but, you know, sometimes that's how they would be probably thinking, like, oh, this is going to be easy, so, you know, we'll do it, and you know, we don't have to worry anymore about all this stuff. Because one thing that I really don't understand is anyone that's saying they're not a baby is too quote unquote expensive, or it costs too much or whatever. That's not the case. I understand it's a lot of money. There's a lot of things, but people provide family help. There's so much things, and like you're saying, adoption. My wife has 3 siblings that were adopted, and they're awesome. And I was blown away. I walked in the first time I met the family, and they were the best things that I met them, and they were awesome. And, you know, amen to that, and to share that. I think that's a very important. Is adoption is, don't be afraid of that. If the case of you're not ready, or, I mean, to give up. I mean, to destroy a life compared to giving maybe another couple life. I rather, you know, if I can't, you know, feel that we can do it, I'd rather have another couple to, share that love for that baby, and, whatever happens after that happens. But it's just a beautiful story to, at least have that. We're with Shawna Arnold, and she wrote the book From Darkness into Light, Finding My Way to the Father's Merciful Love. And I mean, that's the thing that you also are, sharing too, is forgiveness, and to, understand that merciful love that the Father gave you. What have you been taking away? I mean, writing the book, going around speaking. What can you, what are you getting out of that? I mean, I know there's a lot of, just people are sharing back, but personally, is there something that is, hitting your soul that, you would like to share tonight with the audience? Because it's a lot of personal things in the book, and a lot of things that you're sharing as you're speaking personally, to go and kind of relive and talk about. What are you getting out of doing that for yourself?
First of all, I'd like to say that the way it came about was, the last thing I ever wanted to do was talk to people, like, or even be a speaker. I'm going to be honest with you. When I was in school, like elementary school, and I had to do a project in front of the class, my knees were banging together like cymbals. Like, I don't, oh my gosh.
I'm the same way. Yes.
So no, this is totally out of my element. But anyways, as I had gone through all this stuff, I found God. I would have people randomly come to me after and say, you should write out your story. And then I'd have another person. And that, long story short, once somebody was willing to publish that story, I remember just crying and bawling to God. I was so afraid of what people were going to think of me. I'm exposing a lot of sins that are personal to a lot of people. But I just wanted to help people so badly. People that are full of shame, people who feel like they're worthless, that they're garbage, that they're junk. I wanted to share with them that you are not. God looks at the heart. He knows what happened to you. And that's my main message, is I want people to know God is real and that God loves them. And you can change your life. Look at where I came from to where I am now. You can change your life. If you hate something bad enough, you will change. And I have to say, my mom died of an overdose, and that really woke me up to the reality of what addiction can do. So in a way, I like to look back at that and think, it takes some good out of that somehow, that ugly situation. And I like to say, my mom's death gave me life. It made me realize that I was not invincible, that drugs can kill you. When you're young, you think you can stuff yourself with all these things, and, oh, I'm young, I'm invincible, my body's going to bounce back. But no, you can die from these things, and that's a thing I like to stress out as well to people. So sorry, I went off on a little tangent.
No, it's great. Okay. Because I think, because a lot of people do have that situation. But I mean, the going through with your mother and knowing what happened, and it's such a sad story. But to hear that, with that, your life has completely changed and opened up, and you feel like you need to help, and you want to make sure that other people that are maybe going through the same situation can at least hear you, that you can get through it. I think that's the thing. You can get over that. You can get from the darkness to the light. You just have to take some time and either focus on talking to someone, maybe a counselor, in the situation of going to school. But uncovering that mask of yourself and to share that with others. I think that's, Shawna, I really appreciate that, because that's a very important thing, because a lot of people do. I mean, there's situations, everybody is in some kind of situation, but a lot of people are really, like, like you're sharing, like garbage, and they feel like they can't do anything right, and everything is wrong in their life, that they go to drugs, or they go to some addiction that, that you were mentioning, how addiction was such a big reason that the abortion, I mean, there's so much of that connected, that you have to at least try to get some healing. And that's what, any way of getting some healing. And I think, personally, I love that you're sharing, and I'm guessing, I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but maybe I am. But I just share that every time you're sharing and showing that, that you're real, and a real person to share this, shows a lot of courage from you, and a lot of people should, take that, hopefully, from tonight, and anytime that you talk, I think people should take, wow, she has a story that, it might have not touched me, but it might touch someone else, and that's all that matters, is that one soul. And I know, for Fiat, we're always one soul at a time, and I think that's the same way with you, is to help. You want to help people through
and actually, I'm sorry, but when you were talking to, another thing that came to me was also to tell people that, I also went through a phase of where I would talk to somebody, and it just didn't work. It didn't click. And then I went off on a rampage where I just kept doing the things I was doing. But in reality, you just got to keep reaching out to different people. Keep going and going to different people. If the first person you talk to doesn't click with you, doesn't get you, go to someone else. Don't give up. Don't just assume this is way over someone's head, they're not getting me. You'll find somebody that will click with you. Just keep reaching out. Keep talking, keep getting help. Just keep looking. You'll find someone. I just wanted to say that and stress that as well, because I know I've been turned off by different doors I went in or whatever. And, but the thing is, you got to get back up and keep reaching out, and keep finding help. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And I know Jennifer in the chat room just was sharing. I'd like to put that up. Just amazing. Yeah, let's put that up. That would be great. She was just sharing, Shawna, you are an amazing person. Thank you for your courage and strength. So thank you, Jennifer, for sharing that. And I agree with that, Shawna. That's amazing. Just to hear and to not give up and to keep going. And I mean, if there's any final thoughts, I know we're going about 45 minutes in, and I don't want to keep everybody, but thank you for everybody watching. There's comments and people watching throughout the night. Thank you for sharing the stream, everybody that's watching. But Shawna, is there some final thoughts that you would like to share with everybody? Because I know, again, there's so much to, you can't cover everything in an hour, but if you wanted to at least let people know, we'll have links to your book in the show notes. And just, again, thank you for coming on the show. And we'll, if there's any final thoughts that you would like to share, that'd be great.
I guess basically, if you want to go to my blog as well, you can. It's on the bottom of the screen. And if you're interested in my book, you can get it through my blog as well. I also want to mention to people too is a lot of the time, how I found a lot of healing as well is, to be honest with you, was sitting in a regular recliner in my house and talking to God and just spilling everything out to him one-on-one. and just crying my eyes out and giving him everything. And I did that lots. And I just would weep and weep and weep and get rid of all this stuff. But open yourself up to him. Try it. I had so much healing that way. And going to my sacraments, going to your sacraments, going to confession, going to adoration, spend time with God. You'd be amazed what he's doing to your heart during adoration. It's amazing. And I just want to stress that to people. Yeah. So just make time for God, and don't expect, oh, I can't pray for an hour like Johnny or Henry down the block. Well, don't worry about that. Start small.
Yeah.
Start small. Work on your relationship at your own speed with God. It's between you and God. Don't worry about anybody else. And I want to just stress that as well. So thank you for allowing me to come on your show and inviting me on. And
yeah, no, thank you. And I just want to, if it's okay to, the sacraments and, reconciliation, and to go to that. I mean, is there something, because it's so, it's sometimes a pulling teeth, to go to reconciliation, to confess everything that you've done wrong. And it's kind of like going to the dentist or going, whatever. But the sacraments or adoration or doing anything of that sort, what helped you? Like, what were some of the things that, with reconciliation, or, is there something that you would like to share? I forgot to cover.
Well, yeah, actually, I guess I've been blessed throughout my journey with really good priests that would very patient with me. I would sit there. I remember my first reconciliations, like for probably the first couple of years of healing, I would sit in there for like an hour. I know at the time I didn't even realize it was selfish, and there was a lineup and people were like lined up waiting, but I would take as much time as I thought I needed. I just needed that time.
Yeah.
So I guess just basically finding someone you can talk to. I can't stress enough how much talking and opening up to somebody can do for you. How much it can do for you. It's amazing. Something so small you don't even think can just do wonders in helping you heal. Is just having someone listen to you.
Yes.
Even having someone agree with you, or saying, you're on the right path, you're doing well. To hear that for someone like me, who never heard any of that all my life growing up, all negative talk, and I actually start getting reinforced positive talk, like what a difference that makes in a person's life.
Yeah. No.
So that's.
No, I thank you for that. I want to at least end with that, because that's having someone just listen to you and to share. Don't be afraid to open up. Find the right person is what definitely. I mean, a spiritual director or anything that it doesn't, but anyone that will listen to you. If it doesn't work, go to the next person that you might want to connect with. But that, I thank you for that too. I think that also just share. Just Shawna, thank you for again coming on. I know we have a couple of people up in Canada that also are part of the Fiat Ministry network. I see that Al Smith is in the chat room, and his show is tomorrow night at 9. Really excited about that. But just thank you for your time tonight. Thank you for sharing. Again, the book, we'll put that actually back up on screen. From Darkness into Light, Finding My Way to the Father's Merciful Love. And I'll also have let's put the website back up. And there's the website with everything, and I'll have the lower third so you can all see. It's right underneath Shawna's name. Make sure to check it out. And again, thank you. I'll end in prayer, and we'll just forgiveness, for grace to open up, and we'll just thank you again for your time tonight, Shawna. And so in the name of Father, Son, Holy Spirit, man. thank you for this evening, just Lord, and thank you for Shawna, her whole family, everyone that is just tonight watching and then will be watching in their own time. Thank you for allowing us to have a chance to get forgiveness and to know that you are always listening to us, and to know that we need to share if there is something going on in our lives, to open up to someone. Take off that mask to allow people to know you and to know what's going on. Don't be afraid to open up to anyone, and just to be able to give the strength that they can, guide you and or find the person that will help. Thank you for Shawna again. Thank you for everyone that is watching, and just give us all the graces that you give us every day. In your name we pray. In the name of Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Shawna, for your time again. Tomorrow night, Hungry for More with Al Smith will be on at 9 p.m. Eastern. Thank you for everyone in the chat room. Thank you for watching. And until next... In 2 weeks, I'm going to be flip-flopping with John Jacobson's Jake's Takes on Wednesday. So Fiat Ministry Show will move to Wednesdays, and Al Smith with Hungry for More got my spot, and I'm glad to give him that spot. I'm very grateful for him too. 2 Canadians tonight, in a sense. One tomorrow night, one tonight. So we'll bring some, international flavor as much as we can to the network. And I really appreciate, Shawna, for your time, and you're always welcome back. And just thank you for everyone watching. Until in 2 weeks, the Fiat Ministry Network, encouraging all to say yes to Jesus Christ. God bless and good night.